Welcome to Lotus Student Mentor channel. In this class, we are going to study what is the difference between procedural programming and object-oriented programming. Procedural programming and object-oriented programming. So here, the differences in examination, whenever they will ask, we have to divide into two parts of your page, and one side procedural programming and another side object-oriented programming. In relation to those things, we have to mention it for gaining the good marks. Now, based on the basic concept, procedural programming focuses on procedures or routines. That operates data. That operates on data. Whereas in the case of object-oriented programming, it focuses on here based on basic concept. We are talking about basic concept difference. I'm going to explain it, the differences, such a way that you can write about the procedural programming and also you can write about object-oriented programming individually also. Based on the basic concept about object-oriented programming, it focuses on what? Objects. What is the object? That is instance of the class. That encapsulates both data and behavior. What is the next difference? The next difference based on data handling. Based on data handling, the procedural programming here in this, data is typically separate. Data is typically separate from functions. Now here, whereas in the case of object-oriented programming related to data handling, the data and methods that operate on the data, are bundled together. The third difference here it is in relation to code organization. In relation to code organization, the procedural programming is code is organized into procedures or functions. Whereas in relation to the code organization, code is organized into what? Classes and objects. Code is organized into classes and objects. The next fourth difference is based on the state management. In the state management, based on the state management, in the case of procedural programming, state is managed through global variables. Now, in the case of state management of object-oriented programming, state is managed within objects. And fifth one is examples of procedural language. What is the procedural programming examples? Programming languages here: C, Pascal and Fortran. For these examples of object-oriented programming examples, that is Java, C++, Python, Ruby and C#. And finally, the sixth one. What is the sixth one? Here it is. The sixth one is applications or use cases. And procedural language is simpler, used for simpler programs. It is often used. It is used for simpler programs or smaller programs. And what about sixth for object-oriented programming? Uses. It is used for what? Larger complex programs. Larger complex systems. These are the 6 main differences. What are the 6 main differences? The procedural programming and object-oriented programming. Let me summarize. Based on the basic concept, based on data handling, based on code organization, based on state management, examples and uses. Here, the basic concept, both the sides, it focuses on procedures, very simple to remember. It focuses on objects. Data handling, typically, what is that? Typically separate from functions. It is typically data and methods that bundle together. That is the concept of encapsulation. And third one is code organization. Again, procedures are functions. Code is organized into what? Classes and objects. What is the state management? State is managed through global variables. Here, state is managed within objects. And what are the examples? The examples of procedural programming, C, Pascal and Fortran. But examples of Java, object-oriented programming, C++, Python, Ruby and C#. And uses, for simpler programs, procedural programming is used. Whereas for complex or larger systems, object-oriented programming. So the way I explained here, you can write differences between procedural programming and also object-oriented programming. And also you can write, when they ask in the examinations, explain or describe about procedural programming. If you write the procedural programming related concepts, that is basic concept, data handling, code organization points, that is also applicable for explanation about procedural programming. Similarly, if the question is asked about object-oriented programming, then if you write the the portion of this data, object programming related data, that also be considered for examinations. I hope you understood the difference between procedural programming and object-oriented programming very clearly, and it can be remembered by these concepts. Thank you for watching.